David Ozoh is set for another lengthy spell on the sidelines as he was stretchered off at the weekend as Derby County hosted Millwall at Pride Park Stadium. It's a very, very disappointing situation for Derby County and for both David Ozoh, as David Ozoh has showed over the course of his appearances this season that he is one of the best players in Derby County's squad and probably one of the better midfielders within the Championship. It's very disappointing to see him go down with such an injury. It looks like an impact contact injury with the Millwall attacker as he was, I think he was blocking a shot. It was within that motion, and it's very, very unfortunate to see David Ozoh suffer such a difficult injury yet again. Obviously, he suffered that hamstring injury against, I believe it was Cardiff earlier on in the season, and Derby County went proper downhill, and it's been a very downhill slope for Derby County ever since. And obviously, the latest that we've got from Derby County came from John Eustace after the match, where he expressed that he'll undergo a scan and see what the injury is. John Eustace believes that it's a thigh injury. Obviously, he thinks it's a muscle thigh injury sort of thing, hopefully not a leg break or anything like that. And obviously, seeing him be carried off on a stretcher was obviously really, it's difficult to watch any player be carried off on a stretcher, especially when you could see the pain that David Ozoh was in when he first came off the pitch. Well, when he first went down, really, it was really horrible to see another injury to another really important player for Derby County after I think Matt Clarke had gone off not a few minutes earlier. And it's really difficult to see where Derby County are going to find some form and find a structure to build with, because we keep losing players left, right and centre. The squad is diminished. We're not really utilising the youth academy for one or two reasons. Whatever those reasons are, I personally do not know. But John Eustace has a massive task on his hands to replace a player in David Ozoh. Obviously, someone will look at the likes of Ben Osborne. Some will look at the likes of Kenzo Heldmine, Ibu Adams, Liam Thompson. But who is going to be able to sort of slot into that midfield and sort of be a destroyer and pick up the ball, break out with the ball, and get the ball out to those players who need it? And I really do not know, and it's a very, very difficult task for Derby County to be able to find a player to do that within this week, and that's what they've got to do. It's going to be very, very interesting to see the lineup come. I think it's Middlesbrough we face on Saturday. I'll just confirm that, but it's going to be very, very interesting to see how Derby County do line up, especially if you look at the division. We're obviously in a very, very difficult spot and sitting down there at the bottom of the league and sort of flirting with Luton Town for who wants to go down as the worst team across the course of this season. And with losing a player like David Ozoh, losing a Matt Clarke, it's really, really difficult to see where points are going to come from and how John Eustace is really going to sort of turn around this team. And is it going to be a case of dipping into the youth academy? Is it going to be a case of trying someone somewhere they're not used to? And obviously, we've said it across the course of the season, we need square pegs in square holes, not round pegs in round holes. And it is going to be interesting to see what John Eustace decides to do. There's a lot of discussions that can be had for Derby County about it, with obviously the midfield options that we have. Would it be worth sitting Ibu Adams as that main defensive midfielder and then have Kenzo and Armstrong just ahead, or Kenzo and Thompson just ahead? Or would it be a case of let's just fuck it, let's chuck Jake Rooney in there with Ibu Adams? And I think it's a big discussion for Derby County fans to be having across the course of the next few weeks with that injury situation, because at some point something has to be questioned, and whether it's the fitness staff, whether it's the medical team, someone has to be discussed. Now, the David Ozoh injury is I think it's more of a contact injury, an impact injury, a freak sort of muscle pull, strain, tear, whichever one it'll end up being. I think it's just a freak. Whereas with the likes of Matt Clarke, it's another hamstring injury. Seems to be another hamstring injury. And then obviously you look at the likes of Wilson, Dejon Brown, Corey Blackett-Taylor, Curtis Nelson, some big injuries we've had this season. You go back to David Ozoh's first injury earlier on this year, and you go to Ryan Niambi's injury, and at some point you have to be discussing what is going on with the medical team, what's going on with the fitness staff, the strength and conditioning coaches, because something obviously isn't working and something obviously isn't right. And whether we'll ever get the answer to that, I don't know. But obviously, with the rejig that we had over the course of the summer in that sort of medical department, it's very, very interesting to see how it seems to have actually had a negative impact on this squad. And some will say, is it the medical team? Some will say, is it Paul Warne? And obviously, yes, Paul Warne's now gone, but obviously, like, we all know his importance on fitness and how many Ks players ran and things like that. And obviously, that can be a massive, massive problem for players if they are sort of overworking themselves, essentially. And what the important thing will be over the course of the next few weeks is trying to figure out what that problem is, so that whether we stay up in the Championship or go down to League One, that when we put that squad together for whatever division we're in, we don't have those problems again. And having those sort of medical issues that seem to be reoccurring with Derby County, it has to stop. It really does. And a lot of it is non-contact injuries, which is sort of where my issue is with the whole discussion, because when you're having these non-contact injuries consistently, I know Ozoh's was a contact injury, but Matt Clarke didn't even see him really pull up. Corey Blackett-Taylor pulled up off the ball. Kane Wilson pulled up off the ball. Dejan Brown pulled up off the ball. You've got all these players that are going through similar circumstances. And how is it that Derby County's, like, a few years ago, injuries were never really our problem. Like, we could always keep players fit. It's just our depth-wise, we didn't really have the depth in the squad. Whereas now it seems to be a case of we have quality, we have players that are brilliant, in my opinion, and are really good for this division, but we just can't keep them fit. And it is going to be very interesting to see what does happen over the course of the next, 12 games we've got left now, where obviously John Eustace taking over the helm at Derby County. 2 defeats so far as he heads to another away game, and with a weakened squad yet again. It will be interesting to see if Derby County do bring in any other free agents. Obviously, given the circumstance we find ourselves in, it wouldn't be a surprise to see that happen. But how will it happen, and who are these players that could potentially be available? It's just really awkward, isn't it? It's really, really difficult to look at the squad at the moment and the players that we've got out injured and all those sorts of things, because how are Derby County going to be able to move forward and going to be able to pick up points and victories on the road when, not even on the road, but even at home, when some of the best players in the club are off the pitch? And the big worry for Derby County is when we go down, you look at a Kane Wilson, I believe he's out of contract. Obviously, David Ozoh goes back to his parent club. Liam Thompson's out of contract. There's a lot of players in this squad that are out of contract, and obviously that's good for a rebuild, but a player like Kane Wilson you'd probably want to keep. Whether we will or not, I don't know. And it's just it's a really, really awkward position we find ourselves in. Now, obviously, you can have your say down in the comments. If you have not done so already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and I will catch you in my next video. Whatever that may be, whatever it'll be talking about, I'll be there. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one.